recording.
Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order. That was loud, wasn't it? Welcome to the Bloomington Rotary Club's weekly celebration of service for October 27th, 2020. I'm your current president, Ashley Sullivan. Thank you for being here. Michael, please show the flag graphic for 15 seconds of respectful silence. We ask that you remain on mute and take this time to personally reflect.
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce Tim Jessen, who will be offering our reflection today.
Thank you, everyone. I'm glad for the chance to do a reflection once in a while and that we can now sign up for them. I could have chosen next week, Election Day, but I thought, nope, whatever I might say that day would be misunderstood by some. But this week is Halloween, though some stores thought it would be the perfect time, a second full moon in this month and on the weekend to boot. That won't happen. I'm not sure Rotary observed Halloween very much, except perhaps on the rare years when it fell on a Tuesday and some of you were costumed for work. So I decided on another track, though related to Halloween. If you grew up as a good Lutheran like Charlotte Zitlow, you already know all of this stuff, but there might be an outlier that doesn't know. It was on Halloween in 1517, now 503 years ago, that Martin nailed his 95 Theses to the church door in Wittenberg, beginning the Protestant Reformation, and that was related to Halloween. It's better known as Hallowed Eve, hallowed used in the same sense as in the Our Father. It was to be a holy eve, because it was the eve of All Saints' Day. How it got from hallowed to pranks and tricks, I will not say, but I do know its connection to the dead, skeletons, haunted houses, and spooky things like that. The next day was to honor the great people who have gone before us, and at least 2 churches in town are going to use the occasion to gather for the first time since the pandemic, socially distanced and with caution, of course. Now, Natalie is one of our living saints, and I asked her for Rotarians who had died recently that we could remember today. These are the names she gave me: Jerry Ellenwood, Keith Miser, Jeffrey Schaus, and the inimitable Wayne Martin, and I added the name of the wife of a Rotarian, Shirley St. John. Thinking of Wayne, he died 2 years ago this very month. His last time at Rotary was at St. Mark's Church, which seemed fitting since that was his church. A last big project in life for him was jail bingo, where he took permissible gifts to the jail for the inmates there and also played bingo with them. We're hearing very soon from a present-day saint who battles with all her character and values in this difficult time. Hats off to her. But right now, think of some Rotarian or a good friend that you have lost that you still want to remember. On this awkward Halloween, leading to a fateful election day, we can all do well by remembering the saints that have traveled among us. Amen.
Very nice, Tim.
Thank you so much, Tim. Beautiful reflection. And now I would like to introduce our guests. We have Mary Morgan joining us from the Bloomington Chamber of Commerce and United Way board member. Welcome, Mary. And we also have L.A. Williams joining us, faculty member with Ivy Tech. Welcome, L.A. Do we have anyone else joining us that I have missed? So, just a lovely bunch of Rotarians here today with our 2 esteemed guests. Welcome. And if you want to know more about Rotary, please ask me or any of us. We'll be happy to tell you. Thanks to our producers, Michael Sherman, Sally Gaskell, and Natalie Blaze, for putting together this beautiful show for us every week. And our roundabout reporter for this week is Connie Shikalis. Thank you for keeping us with our notes all organized so that we remember what we've done. Membership anniversaries, Peter Kroner, 16 years, and Lynn Schwartzberg, 13 years. Thank you for your service to Rotary. Very special announcement, Rotarians in the news today. Phil Eskew will be among 6 individuals honored for their profound impact on IU athletics at an October 30th virtual I Association ceremony. The I Association finds support in many people, including those who did not participate in intercollegiate sports at IU. Honorary membership is given to inspirational individuals who show commitment and dedication to IU, the I Association, and the IU athletics program. Honorary members are chosen by the I Association's board of directors. A candidate must be presented by a member of the board and approved unanimously to receive this status. This year's honorary I recipient is Phil Eskew. Congratulations, Phil.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Phil.
Congratulations.
You're the
And-
man.
And
Bill,
you-
are you responsible for that win last Saturday? And
No, that was
No?
the coach.
No, it's like-
Honors, Bill.
Phil, we're so honored to have you be part of the Rotary family. And this is another feather in your cap that's already very feathered. So thank you for sharing your time with us and your talents.
It's a huge honor. I sincerely appreciate it. I have a response that takes about 5 minutes that I'll read on Friday night. But this year, because of the pandemic, of course, it's a virtual situation that'll be on Zoom for the I Association or anybody else that wants to join it. And then next year, I think they'll bring everybody together that gets it next year as this year. But the honorary I award is not given every year. So this is really a huge honor. And I am very humbled to receive this. And I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
So well deserved.
Well done. Well done.
All right, we have a toast announcement from Jim Wright.
Thank you, President Ashley. I just want to start by saying, Rotarians, you are awesome. With 9.5 days to go until the toast, you have reserved 66 spots. That's 66 tickets. And your contributions will enable us to honor renowned sports writer Bob Hamill with what promises to be an entertaining and inspirational program. Also, you're providing much needed support to the Hoosier Hills Food Bank during this craziest of years. And you're polishing Rotary's image near and far throughout our community and beyond through our biggest and most visible fundraiser. Now, on November 6th, you will be a part of a gathering of more than 300 dignitaries virtually, including former IU coach Bob Knight and IU women's basketball coach Terry Morin, all of us, of course, watching from the comfort of our homes. If you are one of the few Rotarians who hasn't bought your ticket yet, we've got good news. There's still time, and you can purchase your tickets at rotarytoast.com. And tickets for view only are just $25 a household. So again, rotarytoast.com. The deadline to buy is Election Day, Tuesday, November 3rd. Thank you so much, and back to you, President Ashley.
Thanks, Jim. Now Sally Gaskell has an announcement.
I certainly do. Thank you, President Ashley. It is my great pleasure and honor to make a very happy announcement about our president. Now, this may be a first for a sitting Bloomington Rotary Club president. I'm not sure. I will leave that to our historians, Owen and Glenda, to determine if that's so. The happy news is that our president, Ashley, is getting married on Saturday, October 31st. To her betrothed, Nick Wesley, we wish them much joy. And as a typical modern bride, there will be no immediate honeymoon. Of course, where are they going to go? I suppose they could go to, I don't know, French Lick. But they're not. Ashley will be back next week, thank heavens. Ashley, we wish you great joy. And this is not the last you will hear from us about your upcoming wedding. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. We're delighted. And I'm happy to be the first person getting married sitting in office, if that's true. Hopefully that won't be the case forever. Thank you for the well wishes. It means a lot. And I'll take any and all advice. I'd love to have it. I see a lot of faces in the audience who have very, very happy, wonderful marriages, and I'd love to learn your secrets. Okay, volunteering service spotlight. Huge shout out to Sarah Laughlin, Susie Graham, Sally Gaskell, Marilyn Wood, Owen Johnson, Alon Barker, Art Omick, Lance Eberly, and photographer Jim Wright for coming out Saturday on World Polio Day to help us clean up our adopted road. We had a lot of fun. We collectively gathered 1 bag of trash. So our road is very clean, but we helped to beautify it that much more, and we had fun in the process. So thank you all for coming to that, and we'll keep that up. We'll have another one next year. So thanks again. Wheeler Mission has some new opportunities I'd love to share with you. They have winter contingency support available, front desk coverage, filling the tree, the 12 days of Christmas, and filling the hearts, holiday music and activities, and filling the table, holiday meal. So they have some special events for the holidays that they need some support with. And they are seeking a planning committee for Silent Night, which is a silent auction for December 10th. If you're interested in any of those, reach out to Josie Rice at wheelermission.org. It'll be in the roundabout and you can connect with her and she'll continuously give us updates. Salvation Army bell ringing sign up will go live on November 2nd, next week. And the United Way Day of Action Literacy backpacks. We still need volunteers to put together our grant project. So it'll be December 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Sign up for a slot. We have 600 backpacks to put together, so we need a lot of help, but I think we can get it done. And if you need help with the Civic Champs platform or registering, please let me or Natalie know. Charlotte?
I want to volunteer.
For the
The
Day of Action.
backpacks.
Okay, I'll get you signed up. I'll reach out to you after and see which day you can do.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charlotte. Okay, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Liz Feidel, who will introduce our speaker for today.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to introduce, in my tenure with United Way, either on the board as a staff member, my 4th United Way director, and it's currently Efrat Pfefferman. She serves as the director of United Way, whose mission it is to mobilize the caring power of our community in order to address our most critical needs and reduce those needs in the future. A 17-year resident of Monroe County and a mother of 2 delightful boys, Efrat earned her Bachelor of Arts at Indiana University and a Master of Public Administration at the University of Arizona. Past professional experience includes serving as Assistant Director of City of Bloomington Utilities, as well as other local government and nonprofit services, both here and in Tucson, Arizona. Efrat also currently serves as president of the Monroe County Redevelopment Commission, which has been focused on economic development projects in the West Side TIF district. Please join me in welcoming Efrat.
Thank you. So great to be here, as I am most Tuesdays, but this time to share some exciting updates from United Way with you. And I did prepare a presentation, so let me see if I can I share that? Can someone allow me to share that? Okay.
Michael.
1 second here, I'll get you set up.
Thank you.
There you go. Okay.
And thanks Liz for the wonderful introduction. Liz has been just a mentor to me. Even before United Way, we were on the Women's Commission together, and you helped me there, and you helped me in this current role, and I just really appreciate you. Here we go. Okay. Everyone see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I think as Liz said, that's our mission, to mobilize the caring power of the community and address critical needs today, work to reduce those needs tomorrow. it's a broad mission, but it allows us to be responsive to the community's needs, which, as we know, change over the years. United Way as a concept was born out of a time of crisis and transition in our country in the late 1800s. In Denver specifically, this was the time of, think about industrialization and the shifts that were occurring in sort of the fabric of our social fabric of our nation. People were leaving their rural communities, their tight-knit communities, moving to cities for opportunities and factories and other businesses. And so it was disrupting some things in the social safety net. For example, what happens to someone if they're on their own in a city like Denver, and they get sick or disabled, and they can't work? What happens to someone's kids if they are sick or disabled, or even pass away and there's an orphan left? A lot of charities were springing up to meet these needs, soup kitchens, orphanages, and so forth, but there wasn't a lot of transparency and coordination behind these efforts. And so a group of civic leaders in Denver came together to talk about this and decided that, one body needs to help sort of coordinate not only the services that are being provided, but also the giving that supports those services. And so this concept spread throughout the nation, and our community's local roots date back to the early 1900s. We had a council of social agencies that Mrs. Mary Waldron, that name is a prominent one in our community, led. Later on in the 1930s, the community chest idea came here. And then these things were sort of incorporated and merged into United Fund, later to be United Way. And the United Fund was incorporated in the 50s. We work with 24 member agencies. These are nonprofits that serve various needs for our more vulnerable community residents. They meet standards of sort of the gold standards for nonprofits through a certification process. And if they do so, they get a monthly allocation from us for operational expenses. And I stress operational because I think that's one of the things that sets us apart a little bit from other grant makers. A lot of grants are for new things, for innovation, expansion, and United Way's really been about, we want to just make sure that these services continue in our community and meet the needs. So we're not looking for new all the time. We're looking to support what you're doing so that you can support the people that you serve. We also fill in gaps with initiatives. We call them our community initiatives. A lot of these are in the space of financial stability, but also some reading programs and advocacy programs. The Financial Stability Alliance, the Free Community Tax Service, which helps thousands of families each year file their taxes for free, make sure they get their earned income tax credit and other things due to them. And from there, connect them with other resources as needed as well. That's all volunteer powered. And I'll put a little plug if that's something of interest. We'll be recruiting volunteers soon for that. Financial coaching, the Real Men Read program. We do the ones in the rural school district while MCC does its own through its foundation. But we have Owen Green and then Richland Bean Blossom as well. And then the Wake Up with United Way, I'll touch on that in a little bit as well. That's been our speaker series that meets every second Thursday of the month. to dig in a little deeper on issues impacting members of our community, and to also empower those in the audience with some ways that they can get more involved with that topic and maybe be a better advocate for it. So I checked in with you 2018. I took this position 2017 in September. And in 2018, I had the privilege of addressing you and talking about what we were doing at that time. And 2018, as I was getting my feet on the ground and you know, getting to know my wonderful team and all the people in our world that help us, was sort of a year of planning to plan. We knew we wanted to update our strategic plan. From that, a lot of things would come out of that we continue to work on. But then we also wanted to expand the tagline of give, advocate, volunteer that you see affiliated with United Way in that concept. I think we were focused a lot on the giving, which of course is critical, and any nonprofit will tell you that is the thing they need most. Volunteers are great, all these other things are great, but if they can't raise money to pay the bills and pay staff and do all the wonderful things they do, then we're not going to get too far. But we wanted to also round this out with more advocacy work and more opportunities to volunteer. So that's where the days of action, promoting more of those in support of our agencies and our community developed there, as well as the Wake Up series I just mentioned under advocacy. So that was 2018. And in 2019, we started on a strategic planning process. We engaged charitable advisors out of Indianapolis to help us with this. We gather a lot of feedback from the community via surveys and focus groups and one-on-one interviews, as well as updating a needs analysis and looking at some other ones that had been done in the community. And we also updated a strategic map that I'll touch on in just a minute a little more. The strategic map is what will actually guide our investments and partnerships. As I mentioned, we expanded our work in Owen and Greene counties. And 2019, we also had to respond to a couple of things that were impacting households in our community. In January of 2019, you may remember that the government shut down. It impacted some furloughed employees in our region. But it also had an impact on SNAP benefits. You might know that otherwise as food stamps, and just in the way that the federal government gets money to the states, that was all disrupted. And so people's SNAP benefits were disrupted for a couple of months. And so we did receive some grants from United Way Worldwide for people impacted by that. In June, 4 tornadoes ravaged parts of our 3 counties. And so we did activate our relief fund for that and raised about $33,000 to support 11 low-income households who really didn't have any other means to take care of the safety and health of their homes and households. So that was 2019. And the strategic plan that we developed and our board approved is summarized here. It's got a lot more detail at the version that we have and metrics to everything. But the main goals were to strengthen our community's capacity to address issues of concern, to drive innovation and philanthropic engagement, and to be the donor-centric and philanthropic partner of choice in our region. The strategic map kind of goes back to this first goal of strengthening the community's capacity to address issues of concern. And that number 1 underneath it, accelerate community action by convening people and mobilizing resources to identify and address issues of concern. And so we did just that. We as I mentioned, there was a needs analysis update. There was a lot of work done by our committees and our board to really understand what the top issues are in our community and what solutions might be. And I think at the time we were seeing things like homelessness on the rise, mental health challenges, economic instability for families, substance use, of course. And so as we work through these things, and we worked with from Indiana United Ways, which is our Indiana membership organization, as well as some local researchers at IU, a couple of professors from the public health school helped us with this. We really dug in and got to the understanding that the things that I just named, homelessness, substance use, mental health issues, economic insecurity, are not root causes. They are the symptoms of something else, right? And as we looked at what's underlying those symptoms, there's a lot pointing to trauma and specifically adverse childhood experiences. If you're familiar with that term, it's something in the medical field that gets a lot of attention. There are screening tools for it at pediatrician offices. And there's actually a list of several adverse childhood experiences. And if a child is undergoing more than a couple of them, usually 3 or 4, it kind of puts up a red flag, because it means there are gonna be some issues down the road or now if we don't intervene. Adverse childhood experiences include neglect and abuse, death of a parent incarcerated, or a parent with substance use disorder. And when, most of us can handle 1 or 2 of these in our lives, or even more with the right supports. But when there are a few in the home, it's definitely a red flag. So that became our top priority in the plan we were developing. And I'm saying we were developing because, as you'll see soon, 2020 is a year of pivoting, right? And then along with that, another sort of root factor to address and promoting those things. And then, of course, securing our safety net services, which is a constant for United Way. So we were on the road to transitioning to this focus area. And underneath it were, examples of different things we might fund or initiate or partner on. Our board had approved this. I think it was in late 2019. And then the next step was going to be, operationalizing it. I picked this little section out of that strategic map because I thought it really summarized what I was just talking about. That the challenges confronting our community, they're intertwined, they're complex, they're often cyclical and perpetuated between generations. And while there are many pressing problems we could address, we believe that we must first focus on diminishing social isolation, mitigating trauma, and building social capital for people. These are the primary factors that prevent our community from realizing its full potential. And the effects of these factors manifest in the daily lives of our neighbors as habitual and underemployment, poverty and economic instability, unhealthy child caregiver attachments, housing insecurity, poor health, addictions, poor coping mechanism, and chronic reliance on social services. However, we don't approach our work from a deficits model. We don't believe our neighbors need to be fixed. Rather, we favor collaboration with individuals and the community in order to address these issues. Let's see, I'm trying to trying to fast forward, but I lost the arrow. There it is. Okay, so 2020 comes along, and we're on the path to operationalizing all of that. And then late February, early March, of course, we all remember sort of the rising concerns around the country and the world. And locally, we were hearing rising concerns from our member agencies and other partners. They were starting to have to cancel fundraisers that they rely on for their operational expenses. They were spending more on hygiene and sanitation needs out of an abundance of precaution. We convened a meeting of UWADA, that's United Way Agency Directors Association. It's an active and formal group that meets regularly with us. We convened them to hear their concerns. And, with each day, it was like we were coming to the realization that this was not going to be just about hygiene and extra, masks and hand sanitizer. Our agencies were going to be facing significant challenges, not just in fundraising and in their revenue streams, but in how they do the work that they do safely and how they take care of the people that they take care of. And so within a few days of that, we realized we have to do something. And if we're going to do it, we're going to do it on a big enough scale to really make an impact in the community. So we activated our relief fund. We called it the COVID-19 Relief Fund, in partnership with many groups. I especially, want to give a shout out to our two foundations in town, the Bloomington Health Foundation, our Community Foundation. The city and the county were in from the start. Other businesses, individuals, institutions. And we launched this, not really knowing what we'd be able to do, not knowing what the response would be, because, of course, there was so much uncertainty. Were people going to have jobs and income? Were businesses going to be able to be generous towards this cause? In conjunction with that, we also partnered with the Chamber of Commerce, the BEDC, and the Bloomington Health Foundation to launch the Community COVID Coalition. It's a group of cross-sector leaders that's been meeting regularly ever since March. We were doing it twice a week at first. Now we're every other week. And this is where we share updates and discuss things across sectors that impact us all. So it's a great vehicle for information sharing in our community. And I believe that the Chamber of Commerce on their website may have some of the meetings recorded, but they also have a lot of other good information. So a shout out to them for all their work in keeping the community informed in all these months. We raised about $250,000 in the first few weeks, and then got this great opportunity in front of us to apply for a grant from the Lilly Endowment, which works with Indiana United Ways and all of us in different ways in Indiana. And we ended up getting $1.2 million from them, which was amazing. And to date have raised over $1.6 million. We have granted out 1.4 so far, and our fourth phase is going to be opening soon. There's been a committee that was assembled, including Tina Peterson, John Berida, Beverly Callender Anderson, David Johnson from IU, a vice provost, and Lee Jones from Monroe County that helped us with the review and scoring process of these grants. And really the whole intent was to get the dollars out as quickly as possible to the agencies. So we tried to keep the application process real brief. And then this committee really hustled after each phase to do the work in a matter of days so we could get those dollars out to agencies. Phase one We granted over 300,000 to 17 different organizations. The priorities at that time were focused on sustaining operations, but also some community-wide needs, including the isolation shelter to serve individuals experiencing homelessness. This was before the state came through with some funds, but we got that up and running really in a mind-blowing short period of time. And I credit agencies like New Hope for Families and Shalom, which is now Beacon, Middle Way House, and Wheeler Missions for working with the city and county officials and us to get this done. Because if you've been to one of our shelters, you know, they're not set up for physical distancing, and there's no room for quarantining anyone there. So we really needed a separate space in our community for that. We needed to bulk up our food security system. We were hearing the concerns from Hoosier Hills Food Bank about disruptions in the supply chain. Julia Alonso has been a wonderful leader there. I'm so glad that the Toast is going to help support that organization, because they have just been on top of it, and they've been fighting for what they need to sustain their work, not only sustain, but increase their work. And so that was really the focus of phase one. Phase two, we had some funds to give to our rural counties, our neighboring counties, once we got that Lilly grant, and about 350,000 total went to the community foundations in Brown, Greene, and Owen counties, as well as some to our community foundation here in town for their rapid response grants. But that was the way of doing this most efficiently in the surrounding counties. Those community foundations are on the ground. They know the needs. The needs are all different. Each county had a different focus area for their relief work. And so we partnered with them to get funds to them quickly so that they could go through the competitive process in each county. And then locally, you can see the priority areas here. Some agencies needed to add staff as they lost volunteers with the shutdown and the closing of IU especially. Some agencies needed technological adaptations to provide services like mental health from home. Food security continued to be a priority, shelter and housing, health and safety, but also by this phase, we were looking in the community to see what we could do to help essential workers with childcare, as everything else, all their other options were off the table. So we had some funds in here for that. Phase three continued to support the safety net needs, but this is where we started to transition towards the longer term. And we talked a lot about, we don't want to go back to normal. Normal wasn't working for everyone in our community when we have 1 in 5 households in poverty and another 1 in 3 teeter right above that. That's almost half of our community that struggles day to day. And so we were hearing a lot of people talking about when we get back to normal, when we go back to normal. And we really felt strongly that we don't want to go back to normal. We want to build a better normal. One in which, racial and economic disparities are addressed, one in which every person has access to opportunities, better normal in which our nonprofits continue to be creative and innovative and adaptive to needs. And so grants were awarded to groups focusing on that concept of rebuilding our community, building resilience. Phase 4, as I mentioned, is about to launch. There'll be an announcement in the next couple of days. So if you know any nonprofit groups or organizations, give them a heads up. It'll be posted broadly. So it will have the same priority areas as phase 3. In total, so far in the first 3 phases, we funded 40 organizations with that 1.4 million so far, and we'll see what comes out of phase 4. So 2020, back to those strategic priorities from 2019. Remember these: adverse childhood experiences and trauma, social connection, mental health, safety net services. Well, our board talked a lot about this, and our community investment committee as well. It didn't seem like this should be necessarily the focus right now as we're rebuilding, well, continuing to respond and recover and then rebuild from a pandemic. But as we looked at the strategies under each of these priority areas, we realized that, you know what, we've all just experienced trauma. We've all just experienced a disruption in our social connection. Mental health issues are on the rise. And of course, our safety net has never been more critical. We really didn't have to change much from what we developed. We just needed to talk about it in a more responsive manner. And the word that came up was resiliency. When we address these things, we're talking about building resiliency in our community, in our safety net, and in individual households and lives. So we took those 3 priority areas and all the strategies underneath them and all the work underneath each one and just relabeled them essentially. Resilient individuals. This means that we want to invest in programs and activities that build healthy relationships, that give people productive coping techniques, peaceful conflict management, so that individuals are better prepared for life and its opportunities. And there's some examples of what that might look like. Mentorship, prevention, intervention activities, life skills, suicide prevention, parental empowerment, addiction recovery, and more. When we talk about a resilient community, we're talking about investing in things that assure that our community members have strong support networks so that when hardship comes, whether it's broad like this or acute in a household, people can navigate that more effectively. And that may mean things like improving neighborhood and peer connections, coalitions that are issue-based, volunteer engagement. And then the resilient safety net, those things that support the very basic needs of people in our community: food, nutrition, housing, shelter, life skills, transportation, childcare, work preparedness, mental, physical health, legal services, and emergency response services. So we got that, right? And that's been incorporated into phase 3 and phase 4 of the relief fund, but it's also going to be what we're focused on for the next 3-year cycle of funding and of partnerships with agencies. Before we get to do that, we need to operationalize it with a new application packet and some other things. And we have a committee working on that right now. Susie Graham is in it, and a couple of other folks here are involved. Some of the changes from the process of recent years, it's been updated with a stronger commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is not just something we're doing internally at United Way, but when we make investments, we want to make sure that the partner, is looking through these lenses of equity and inclusion, is culturally responsive to whoever they're serving, is intentional about building their comprehension of these things internally and externally, and that they're listening to the people that they serve, and then using that feedback to improve their programs. It's the application process will be updated with these strategic priorities around resilience and corresponding metrics for each. And it's also going to be streamlined. This was one of the things that came up in the strategic plan. We want to reduce the burden on agencies while still maintaining the integrity of these partnerships and the trust that donors put into United Way. And we've been using the same tools for about 14 years. They work, but there's always room for improvement and room to streamline some things. So that's part of the process as well. And then this will be implemented in 2021. And this is my last slide here before I take questions if there are any. But this is our tagline for this year's annual fundraising drive. Back to that idea of a better normal. Can we imagine a better normal for people? One in which every person experiencing homelessness in our community has safe shelter when they need it. One in which every family has food, nutritious food when they need it, and maybe a neighbor or a stranger is delivering that food to them. One in which every child has a mentor in their corner. One in which someone needing mental health support might be able to access it from home because they have the necessary technology and they have affordable mental health services available in our community. And one in which a better normal in which our community comes together in full force to respond to issues and needs that arise every time. So can we reimagine a better normal? And I know you all can because you're Rotarians, and I know our community can. It's daunting work ahead, but I have no doubt that together we can continue to build on the momentum of recent months and transition this to the longer term picture where we have a better normal for our entire community. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share those things with you. And I'm happy to take any questions or comments.
Thank you so much, Efrat.
This is Martha Wales. When did Owen and Greene County become part of the Monroe County United Way? And do you have a desire from other counties, let's say Brown County, to join in with ours?
That's a great question. So in the United Way world, I think initially years back, every county had one. And then over time, some of them maybe didn't thrive, especially in rural areas and rural counties. And that's what happened in Owen and Greene. They just sort of dissolved. I think Owen was first, and then Greene County was about 10 years ago when that happened. And so it wasn't a merger, but once they were dissolved, United Way Worldwide looks at those zip codes and then might look to a neighboring one and ask if we want to take that zip code, that territory in. And that's what happened with Owen and Greene. So we actually do have a sliver of Brown County. It's the western sliver. And I leave that off because there's like maybe 50 houses there. And to say Brown County, misrepresents what we do out there. The rest of Brown County is technically covered by the United Way of Bartholomew County.
Yeah. Okay, I have a related question. The community foundations. Lily decided every county should have a community foundation, which seemed to me a stretch that not every community could support a structure for a community foundation. So do you see that the community foundations also are mergeable?
I think I lost you there for a second.
The community foundations,
Yes.
is it possible that they can be merged? Or is there any value to be had from that to consolidate? Because you understand that Lily made it by county, and it seemed to me that was a lot of infrastructure for the communities to absorb.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't know that I can really speak to that world. It is set up differently than ours, where we have the one large organization that's now worldwide that we're members of. So it's a different structure, and I think in United Way, there's that body that's able to better coordinate and better, assess these sort of things.
Right.
So yeah, I'd hesitate to speak to that, but I will say that our community foundation here in Monroe County is amazing.
It's terrific, and that was founded, by United, basically.
Yeah, and many of you have been part of that. We work well together. We complement each other in our work. In Owen and in Green and in Brown, I think because the United Ways there didn't thrive, those are the organizations that are the primary ones for coordinating some things. But yeah, it might be a better question for Megan.
Yeah, Megan or Tina.
Yeah.
Well, let's pause.
Wonderful work.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
A lot coming from a former executive director of United Way, Charlotte.
Yeah.
And you've been a mentor and inspiration to me all these years as well.
Thank you. Well, you're doing a great job. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. Well, we couldn't do it without all of you, and whether it's volunteering or giving to us or to one of our partners, or being advocates out there, it really does take the entire community, and this group knows that better than most others.
Thank you so much, Efrat. Will you have a few minutes to stay after to answer any additional questions?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. As you know, in honor of your presentation today, we'll be giving a donation to the Amethyst House.
That's one of our member agencies. That's fantastic.
Sally, would you tell us about next week's program?
Yes, please join us next week on Election Day for our own Judy DeMuth, Superintendent of MCCSC, who's going to be talking about the MCCSC Pandemic Navigation, a look to the future.
Thank you. Should be exciting. Michael, could you share our four-way test graphic? We'll say this together. Of the things we think, say, and do, first, is it the truth?
Is it the truth?
Second, is it fair
Fair to all concerned.
Third, will it build
Goodwill and better friendship.
Fourth, will it be beneficial
to all concerned.
And fifth, is it fun? Thank you all for being here today. Now we'll open it up for any additional questions you have.